Welcome back, my friend. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to the On to Purpose Over Paycheck podcast. I don't know. That was my little jingle. Yeah, I know. I try too hard sometimes. Oh well, have fun with it. All right, friends, welcome to the podcast. My name is Troy. I am your host. I am giving you the inside, the deep look into the process of moving from a paycheck security over to your purpose, creating the life that you were meant to have through the purpose of what you want to do. All right, so welcome. All right, today's episode is titled Leading Yourself Before You Lead Anything Else, right? We're going to really dive into this idea of what really sits in the heart of expansion. Because the thing about it is, before you can lead a business, a team, a family, a community, or a vision, you always have to lead yourself first. And how you lead yourself first determines the quality of everything that will follow. All right? We're going to talk about that. So let's dive in. Why is self-leadership, why does this need to happen before external leadership? Many people think that leadership begins when others are involved. But in all honesty, leadership begins so much earlier. It begins with how you regulate, how you make decisions, how you respond to pressure, and how you treat yourself when things are difficult or hard. External leadership is simply an extension of the internal leadership. If you don't trust yourself enough, it is going to be very hard to lead anyone else with sustainability, right? So the difference between control and leadership, many people will get confused with this, right? They will have some confusion with leadership with control. This is what control looks like. It is forcing outcomes. It is over-managing. It is ignoring limits. And it is pushing through signals. But leadership looks like clarity, discernment, boundaries, and self-regulation. Here's where control comes from. It comes from fear. Leadership, now that comes from self-trust. And let me tell you, self-trust is built quietly, long before anyone gives you the authority. So, how do we lead through regulation? One of the most important forms of self-leadership is the nervous system leadership. How you lead yourself when you are overwhelmed. How you lead yourself when you are uncertain. How you lead yourself when you're triggered or tired. Do you rush? Do you react? Do you collapse or pause and regulate? This capacity helps determine your regulation because now you're looking at your decision quality. You're looking at your emotional stability. You're looking at your relational safety and your leadership presence. Regulation is leadership infrastructure. Okay? Excuse me. Regulation is leadership infrastructure. Now, the one thing about leadership is integrity is a core value of leadership. At its deepest level, leadership is the integrity. What is integrity? This is doing what you said you would do. This is keeping promises to yourself. This is acting in alignment with your values and being honest about your limits. Now, when the integrity is strong internally, leadership externally will become very natural. People trust consistency more than charisma. They will trust steadiness more than the performance. Let me say that again. People will trust consistency more than charisma, and they will trust the steadiness more than performance. Now, why do many leaders have burnouts? This is something rarely said clearly. Many leaders who have burnout or experience it, it's not because the leadership is heavy, but it's because they were never taught how to lead themselves first. They ignore their nervous system, they abandon the boundaries they have set, they over-identify with responsibility, and they lose connection to themselves. And over time, leadership becomes extraction instead of expression. Because the self-leadership protects you from that. So if you're thinking, I want you to hear this. You don't need to become someone else to lead well. You need to stay connected to yourself as you are leading. Remember, leadership is not dominance, it is presence. It's your ability to stay grounded when others are not. That's what leadership is all about, and it starts from inside, friend, the internal. When you lead through choice and not force, you're going to have some of these self-leadership moments showing up. You are going to start choosing rest when you're tired. You're going to start choosing honesty when there is some uncomfortability. You're going to start choosing boundaries when it's inconvenient, and you're going to start choosing alignment when fear offers these shortcuts. Those choices will build an internal authority that no title can ever give you. When you lead yourself well, others, they're going to start feeling safe around you. Even they will never be able to explain why. They will say, when you're around here, your presence, I feel great. I don't know why, but because the way you lead yourself, I feel safe around you. Friend, leadership is an identity. It's not a role. Okay? Leadership is not a role that you step into. It's an identity you stabilize. When you see yourself as someone who responds thoughtfully, someone who holds boundaries, someone who regulates emotions, and someone who honors their values, leadership becomes natural, not performative. You don't need to act like a leader. You simply become one. So, if you're asking yourself, how do I lead others well? Reframe that question to how do I lead myself with more clarity, kindness, and integrity? That question upgrades every form of leadership automatically. And that question again is, how do I lead myself with more clarity, kindness, and integrity? And that question will upgrade every form of leadership automatically. Because when the way you lead yourself is the way you teach others what leadership looks like. That's the affluence you will have in them. Crazy. But it's so true. It is the most important thing. Because you are only going to be able to lead you internally, and it'll reflect externally. Remember, your world is a mirror of who you are. When you look in the mirror, that is who you are. That's where it all begins. Everything outside, everything external is a reflection of you from inside. All the things that may happen in life are a reflection of who you are and what you feel about that situation. Just be aware of that. All right. In our next episode, we're going to talk about letting go your work, letting your work reflect who you're becoming, and why this shapes your expression, the career, and the creative identity. So we're going to dive deep into that in our next episode. However, before you go, again, I'm going to leave you with this. If something in today's episode resonated with you, or if you felt that small little nudge and says, there's more for me, that was not an accident. That was your intuition talking to you. That was God, Source, Creator, Universe nudging you to say, hey, you need to do this. You need to check out my link tree. In my link tree, I have a collection of amazing ebooks that I have written. Those ebooks are from my experience, things that I've experienced, things that I have applied into my life that have worked. And I believe in those 100%. That's why I wrote those ebooks. I wrote Aligned. I wrote Shift. I created the 30-day Manifest Like You Mean It 30-day program. I hold master classes. Everything is in my link tree. So if you want to start becoming the version of who you naturally attract in your life, peace and abundance, Everything is in there ready for you. We don't talk about motivation. What we do is we talk about the transformation, because you are a person who should have everything and anything they choose. So you need to go to my Linktree. It is Linktree/Troy. That's Linktree/Troy Rivera. I know I said Linktree/Troy. It's Linktree/Troy Rivera. When you do that, you're going to be opening your world to possibilities that you never thought you could have. Remember, you don't manifest what you want, you manifest who you become. All right, friend. Before I leave, remember this. Before you lead anything in the world, you are always leading yourself first. Ooh, I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. Okay? Think about that. Let that sink in. Let that process. Also, make sure that you're following the podcast. Make sure you're leaving a rating. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in there. If you know someone who would benefit from listening to this podcast and these episodes, share this out with them. I'd greatly appreciate that. I am truly grateful and honored that I have this space to come to you and share with you my experiences of moving to a purpose over a paycheck, going through the experience, going through everything that I am experiencing. I'll tell you one thing is my nervous system is really truly, and I love learning about the nervous system. So that's become like really a major focus in my life, because I'm learning how to regulate my nervous system. And by doing that, I'm opening the doors for opportunities, attracting the things that I want in my life. It's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And so I don't know, I may actually start a masterclass on that one. I talked about doing one called self-identity or the identity shift, but I actually might create one that's about the nervous system and really talking about that. I don't know. If you think that's a great idea, leave a comment in there or reach out to me on my social medias and say, hey, I would participate in that. I would jump in and do a masterclass that talks about the nervous system and this whole identity shift. So that's coming soon. Oh, I'm also working on my membership site. So that'll be all in the details of my Linktree as well. So that's coming in toward the end of January, which is about another week. Still fine-tuning a lot of the things out and going from there. All right, I'm rambling on about this and going from there. All right, friends. As I always say, thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.